to this edition of Hebrew Nation News on YouTube. At Hebrew Nation News, we bring you news that is not found in the mainstream media. We look at the facts on the ground in the news and then connect those facts back to the scriptures, always asking the question, what time is it? We don't give just the facts, but we also ask the question, what does it mean? This is your intelligence brief for the week. Reporting to you live on YouTube, this is Laura Densmore with Hebrew Nation News. Hi there, YouTube listeners. This is Laura Densmore reporting in with Hebrew Nation Radio. We have a lot of news to cover this week, and we're going to begin by taking a look at what's happening in the Middle East with Israel. This week we have this story: Bibi phones Putin to talk Middle East peace. So Benjamin Netanyahu spoke with Vladimir Putin of Russia on Tuesday night and discussed regional issues in the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. And according to the Kremlin presidential website, the two leaders exchanged opinions on issues surrounding the settlement in the Middle East and current aspects of the general situation in the region. This is huge. This is showing us a major shift in power and influence in the Middle East, as shown in yet the next story. Whereas in times past it's been the United States and the EU that have been the predominant key players around the two-state solution peace talks, now Russia has a seat at the table. Putin, this comes from Infowars.com, Putin undercuts Obama and Russia will be hosting a Middle East peace talks. Putin is going to be promoting national sovereignty over globalism. This is why all the globalists are mad at him and why they've been putting an economic sanction against Russia since last summer with extremely low oil prices to try to cut Russia off at the knees. Why? Because Russia doesn't want to play ball with the globalists. He wants to maintain and keep the integrity of national sovereignty over getting thrown into the melting pot of a globalist regime. So, Russian President Putin is asserting himself as the next broker for Middle East peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians, a sign of his continued ambition to supplant the U.S. and Obama as the major power broker in the region. So this is something to really keep a close eye on. We're also seeing a flashpoint this week. There was a rocket fire coming from the Gaza Strip, and the rocket fire landed in Sderot. And typically in the past, Israel responds measure for measure with equal opposite force. But this time they responded with great fury. And there were over 50 Hamas targets in Gaza that were hit in response to the rocket that hit Sderot, which is great. They need to understand the only language that these terrorists understand is the language of force. And so Sunday afternoon, the rocket that fired from the Gaza Strip hit the city of Sderot. No injuries have been reported. And the IDF aircraft immediately targeted Hamas positions in the northern Gaza Strip. And so Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lerner said in a statement, the IDF remains committed to the stability of the region and operated in order to bring quiet to the people of southern Israel. So kudos to Israel. Let's come back to Russia. Russia is now using an Iranian and Turkish air bases for bombing raids into Syria. And what we're seeing then is the rise of a Eurasian military alliance shaping up. So Vladimir Putin is quite the master chess player, and it looks like he has checkmated NATO and secured a Eurasian military alliance. So he's been allowed access and use of both Iranian and Turkish air bases for his bombing raids in Syria to knock out and take out ISIS. And so this is a story that's coming from TrueNews.com with Rick Wiles. It's a very, very good story. And so again, we're seeing the power of Russia really rising up as Russia is building this Eurasian military alliance, and also Russia is moving now to the table as a major power broker with the Middle East peace talks. And let's look at this Incirlik Air Base. Now, let me give you a little bit of background about the Incirlik Air Base in Turkey. Up until recently, Turkey was, a good standing member of NATO and an ally, and we had our air base, the Incirlik Air Base, in Turkey. Then we had the Turkish coup a couple of weeks ago, and right after the coup, or right about the same time as the coup, they shut off the electricity to the air base. Turkey's been really turning away from the West and really walking down the path of Islam, and has actually been a supplier to ISIS, to neighboring Syria next door, with sending over weapons, munitions, and supplies to ISIS in Mosul in exchange for oil. So the oil over in Syria that ISIS has control over, they've been sending over oil to Turkey in exchange. Turkey's been sending over weapons. So the Incirlik Air Base, which has been, a U.S. air base, which gives us warheads that are pointed at Russia with a 3 to 4 minute window of time, that if Russia were to do a first strike against America, the mutual assured destruction framework and principle that we used to have, that we could strike back within 3 to 4 minutes from the Incirlik Air Base. Well, because that air base is really no longer secure. Turkey seems to be in bed with Russia now and with the Syrian ISIS folks. So now these nuclear warheads that are down underneath the base, and it takes a couple of weeks to move them, they have been moved. They're in the process of being moved out of the Incirlik Air Base to Romania, which is one of our allies. Why are they being moved? Because we don't want to leave them in the hands of Russia, and we don't want to leave them in the hands of Turkey, who apparently can no longer be trusted. So we're seeing some major power shifting in the Middle East, in Eurasia, with some new alliances being built. Another really big breaking news this week, North Korea launched a ballistic missile from their sub, and it landed in Japan Air Defense Zone space. So this week we have been hearing about the joint training exercises going on between South Korea and the United States. And these joint training exercises happen every year about this time. And of course, whenever the joint training exercises happen, North Korea gets all rattled and upset, and they shake their rattles and they bluster and they say, we're going to attack the United States, and they get all upset. But usually it's just a lot of talk. This is not talk. They actually launched a ballistic missile, and it landed in Japanese airspace. Here's a map of the region. So again, this is telling us what we're seeing is wars and rumors of wars. It's really ramping up, folks. It's a tremendous incident on the world stage, and the response may be something few of us can imagine. There's already talk in diplomatic circles of using force against North Korea. For now, it appears to be simply talk, but from talk, this is how reality changes. So I'm going to skip this story. And another big news story that broke this past week, Obama will be handing over control of the internet that was created by the U.S. military on October 1st. Now, this is not being carried in the mainstream media, but this is information that you need to know. The U.S. military is the one who set up and created the internet and gave us the structure, the architecture for the internet, and now Obama is handing it over to an international entity called ICANN, effective October 1st. Now, the concern and the worry is that this international entity would have, access for being able to control content and regulate content and be able to censor and or shut down the internet. So the freedom would be lost of, freedom of being able to look at the information. And so much of the mainstream media has now already been whitewashed and censored, and it's just an entertainment rag. So you have to go to alternative news websites to get your information. So this is really of great concern. Why October 1st? Interesting. Perhaps it's because it's just before the elections. If we have elections, many are concerned that Obama may try to pull some kind of a false flag event, or some kind of an event that would give him an excuse to declare martial law, and then there goes the election. Okay, I want to get into some domestic news and what's been going on with Hillary Clinton. So Hillary Clinton actually made a comment that she would like to see Breitbart News shut down. And so, I went to Breitbart News and I really like them. They're a great news source. In fact, I encourage you to go to breitbartnews.com, breitbart.com, here's the address, breitbart.com. Sign up for the newsletter. There's a reason why she wants to shut them down, because they're telling the truth. Anyway, her goal is not just to shut down internet news sites like Breitbart, but others such as InfoWars or, other news, alternative news media. And so in doing that, she's behaving a little bit like the Wicked Witch on the West. And in fact, I'm going to show you this short little news clip that comes from InfoWars, just this short news clip. It's really good. I love The Wizard of Oz. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. So I'm going to just show this clip to you from InfoWars.
Within the First Amendment exists the prohibition of infringing on the freedom of the press. Tell that to Barack Obama's White House and Hillary Clinton. Clinton hasn't even won the presidency yet, and she is already announcing a full-scale war on the truth. Days ago, the Daily Caller reported that a Clinton campaign fundraising email was sent out arguing that Breitbart and other similar publications have no right to exist. Clinton's Deputy Communications Director, Christina Reynolds, wrote, "We've had a conservative media in this country for a while. I don't always like what they have to say, but I respect their role and their right to exist. Breitbart is something different," she says. "They make Fox News look like a Democratic Party pamphlet. They're a different breed altogether. Not just conservative, but radical, bigoted, anti-Muslim, anti-Semitic conspiracy peddlers who never have been and never should be anywhere near the levers of power in this country." With the legalization of propaganda in 2013, Hillary's hordes of flying monkeys are dive-bombing the national conversation with bold, tyrannical disinformation. They are engaged.
Wow. Okay, so the Wicked Witch of the West doesn't really want you to have the information that's posted up on Breitbart. So I encourage you, please subscribe to Breitbart. Just go to Breitbart.com and subscribe, and they can send the email to you, the news to you through your email. Now, why does she want Breitbart and other alternative news to be shut down? Maybe it's because they are exposing some truth that she's not very comfortable with. Here's this news story. Many donors to the Clinton Foundation met with Hillary at the state. So something like half of the people outside the government who met with Hillary Clinton while she was the Secretary of State gave money, and I'm talking millions of dollars, either personally or through companies or groups, to the Clinton Foundation. In other words, you pay a couple $1,000,000 and then you get seen by the Secretary of State. But if you don't pay any money, you don't get seen. It's an extraordinary proportion, indicating her possible ethics challenges if elected president. At least 85 of the 154 people from private interests who met or had phone conversations scheduled with Clinton while she led the State Department donated to her family charity or pledged commitments to its international programs, according to a review of State Department calendars released so far to the Associated Press. Combined, the 85 donors contributed as much as $156 million. Now, this is a story coming from Breitbart. Could that be the reason why she wants to shut Breitbart down? Okay, so Hillary's attack on Breitbart. Now, this is coming from Tom Fitton, and he is the head and the president of the Judicial Watch. And he's going to be on 4 or 5 different national media channels, news channels, because he's got some very important news to share. He's saying on the Howie Carr show, the Clinton Foundation will be shut down by the end of this week. So the president of Judicial Watch Tuesday told syndicated radio talk show host Howie Carr that the Clinton Foundation will cease operations after the Washington-based watchdog released 725 pages of emails revealing the pay-to-play culture at Secretary Hillary Clinton's State Department. He went on to say, "I don't think the Clinton Foundation is going to survive until the end of the week," said Tom Fitton, the president of Judicial Watch. Kudos to Tom Fitton and the Judicial Watch for the very important role that they are playing in bringing these matters to light and holding them accountable for their criminal activity. Honestly, folks, I don't see how anybody in their right mind could possibly vote for Hillary Clinton. I like the t-shirt that I saw when I went and saw the movie Hillary's America. It said InfoWars on the back of the t-shirt, and on the front it says Hillary for prison. Okay, so anyway, let's see. I wanted to bring your attention to Hebrew Nation News, or Hebrew Nation Radio channel on YouTube. And so please go to youtube.com, and up in the search box type in Hebrew Nation Radio and you will find our channel. We are posting exciting, dynamic content and news reports every week. We've got 2 YouTube news reporters. We have Bonnie Harvey posting, and we're getting news reports from her every week. It's the countdown to the second return of the Messiah news report. She does an excellent job, and so if you go to the Hebrew Nation Radio channel, you will find it. And also, I am posting news reports as well. So please subscribe to the Hebrew Nation Radio channel on YouTube, and you can stay current with the news. Also, I want to draw your attention to a recent teaching that I posted just this week, and I felt a real sense of urgency to get this done. It's called The 70 Weeks of Daniel Unsealed. What time is it? And I'm having trouble getting this to display, so I'm going to show it to you a different way. Right here it is. The 70 Weeks of Daniel Unsealed. What time is it? So we take a look at the 70 weeks of Daniel chapter 9, and we want to take a look at what are those 70 weeks. What is a week? And there's more than one way to interpret that. Traditionally, a week has been 7 years, so 70 weeks times 7, 490 years. And certainly that's one way of looking at it. That's one way of interpreting it. But this is taking a second look at it in another way. And so if you want, I encourage you to go and take a listen to this teaching, because we may have a lot less time than we thought. If the 70 weeks of Daniel is actually 70 years of keeping Shavuot, or weeks, the Feast of Weeks in the land of Israel, this 70-year prophecy clock is ticking. And what time is it? So please, if you have some time, give it a listen. I think you'll really be blessed in listening to that. And finally, I want to encourage you, visit HebrewNationOnline.com and stay abreast with great teachings, discussions, news. We've got many, many teachers there. We've got Daniel Holdings, Alma Karn, Eddie Chumney, Monty Judah, all the morning shows. The morning show lineup is just awesome every Monday through Thursday. So please keep in touch with us and listen in at HebrewNationOnline.com. And I want to thank you for listening to the news this week. This is Laura Densmore reporting in with Hebrew Nation Radio on YouTube, and we'll see you next week.